ask me question. I did not speak English. I stand there, I say Gucci Gucci, and then how became Gucci Gucci again. And I never given money to the dog. But I make a lot of money with it.
She fooled Hollywood about her age, married a man 4 decades older, and turned a dog's funny walk into fame. But at 74, Charo is done pretending. The truth? A father forced into exile, a family destroyed by Franco's regime, and a desperate decision that haunted her for years. Today, TV's most energetic star reveals the darkness behind her famous smile and why she never told anyone until now. Charo's journey began in Murcia, Spain. Born Maria Rosario Pilar Martinez Molina Baeza, she grew up surrounded by music. Her love for the guitar started early, and by the time she was 9, she had already caught the attention of one of the greatest classical guitarists in the world. Andres Segovia was known for his strict teaching style and unmatched skill. He rarely took on students, especially young ones, but when Charo auditioned for him in Madrid, he saw something different. Her style was fast and unpredictable, almost like a cat swiping its paw. It wasn't the traditional technique he taught, but there was something in her playing that made her impossible to ignore. Flamenco music was in her blood. It was wild and full of emotion, nothing like the structured classical pieces most guitarists played. Charo wasn't afraid to push boundaries. She studied hard under Segovia, learning the technical side of the instrument, but she never lost her natural style. While other students followed the rules, Charo played from the heart. She wasn't just learning music, she was creating something unique. As she grew older, people started to notice. She performed on Spanish television, bringing her fiery style to audiences across the country. One of those performances changed everything. Xavier Cugat, a famous Latin band leader, saw her and immediately knew she had something special. His orchestra was one of the most popular in the world, and he wanted Charo to be a part of it. He saw beyond her age and experience. He saw a future star. But there was a problem. Charo was too young. Cugat was looking for someone at least 25, someone with experience who could handle the demands of performing internationally. Charo wasn't going to let that stop her. She convinced him she was older than she actually was. It was a risk, but she knew this was her chance. If she stayed in Spain, her future was uncertain. Under Francisco Franco's dictatorship, opportunities for women were limited. Traditional values controlled every aspect of life, and women were expected to follow strict roles. Her father had already faced exile. Their family had lost their land. There was no guarantee that staying in Spain would lead to success. Joining Cugat's orchestra was a way out. It was also the beginning of something bigger than she could have imagined. The move to America changed everything. The lights of Las Vegas, the energy of Hollywood, the excitement of performing in front of massive audiences. It was a world she had never seen before. At first, it was overwhelming. She didn't speak English fluently. The entertainment industry was dominated by men, and she had to prove herself every step of the way. But Charo didn't back down. She learned quickly. She turned her accent into part of her charm, using humor and confidence to connect with audiences. Her performances became more than just music. She danced, joked, and played the guitar with a fire that no one had seen before. People couldn't take their eyes off her. Charo didn't just become famous. She made herself unforgettable. When she arrived in the United States in the 1960s, she was introduced as the wife of Xavier Cugat, a famous band leader. But it didn't take long for her to step into the spotlight on her own. She started performing on The Ed Sullivan Show, catching the attention of audiences with her mix of music, comedy, and dance. She had an energy that stood out. She was vibrant, unpredictable, and always entertaining. Before long, she became one of the most in-demand guests on television. She showed up on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, The Carol Burnett Show, and The Hollywood Squares. But her most memorable moments happened on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Every time she walked onto that stage, she brought something new. She joked, she danced, she played guitar, and she always had the perfect way to steal a moment. Her catchphrase, "Coochie Coochie," became a sensation. She used it whenever the conversation got awkward or when a joke needed a little extra push. It was playful and fun, but it also had a history. When Charo was a child, she had a dog named Cuchillo. He had a funny way of wiggling his backside when he ran. She turned that movement into a joke, then into a signature move, then into something that would follow her for the rest of her life. Audiences loved it. Hosts loved it. Even Johnny Carson and Merv Griffin relied on it. If a joke didn't land, all Charo had to do was stand up, flash a big smile, and say, "Coochie Coochie." The audience would burst into laughter. It became her way of controlling the room. It made her instantly recognizable. But at the same time, it overshadowed something even more impressive: her music. Charo was more than just a television personality. She was a world-class musician. She started playing classical guitar when she was 9, trained under the legendary Andrés Segovia, and developed a style that mixed speed, precision, and raw emotion. When she picked up a guitar on stage, people stopped laughing and started listening. She wasn't just entertaining, she was breathtaking. Her talent opened new doors. In 1970, she made her film debut in Tiger by the Tail alongside Tippi Hedren. It was a small step, but it marked a shift in her career. She was no longer just a guest star on talk shows, she was an actress. She went on to appear in The Concorde, Airport 79, playing a larger-than-life character that fit her personality perfectly. Television, though, remained her biggest stage. She had recurring roles on Chico and The Man and The Love Boat. She always played fun, energetic characters that matched her real-life charm. Every time she appeared, she made sure the audience remembered her. She wasn't just acting, she was making an impression. Then came Las Vegas. If television made Charo famous, Las Vegas made her a star. She started performing there in the early 70s, first alongside Cugat, then on her own. She put together a show unlike anything else in the city. It had music, dance, comedy, and an energy that never let up. Before long, she was headlining at the biggest venues: Caesar's Palace, the Flamingo, and the Tropicana. People couldn't get enough of her. She became one of the highest-paid performers in Las Vegas, making as much money as legends like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. In 1978, she signed a contract with the Aladdin Hotel worth $100,000 a week. It was an unheard-of deal for a female performer at the time. She didn't just entertain, she changed the game. She proved that a woman could be more than a singer or a dancer. She could be the main event. She could sell out shows night after night. She could dominate a stage. Even with all that success, Charo never lost sight of her first love: music. She was determined to be recognized as more than just the Coochie Coochie girl. She kept performing. She kept recording. In 1994, she released Guitar Passion, an album that won Female Pop Album of the Year at the Billboard International Latin Music Conference. It was a reminder to the world of just how skilled she really was. Charo's music career is a story of constant change. She never stayed in one place for too long, always moving between styles and sounds. At first, she was a flamenco guitarist, trained by the legendary Andrés Segovia. Then she became a disco star, lighting up dance floors with her energy. Later, she returned to her roots and proved she was more than just a performer. She was a true musician. Her first major album, La Salsa, came out in 1976. It introduced her as a rising Latin music star. The following year, she released Dance a Little Bit Closer, a mix of flamenco and disco that brought her into the spotlight. The title track became a hit, reaching number 18 on the US dance charts and number 44 in the UK. That same year, she dropped another album, Coochie Coochie, working with the Sal Soul Orchestra. The mix of Latin beats and disco grooves made it a perfect fit for the nightlife scene. She wasn't done yet. In 1978, she followed up with Ole Ole, another disco flamenco fusion. The title track made it to number 36 on the US dance charts, proving she could keep up with the biggest names in dance music. By 1981, she shifted gears with Bailando con Charo, a more Latin-focused album that reflected her deep connection to the music she grew up with. But the biggest change came in 1994. That was the year she released Guitar Passion, an album that reminded the world who she really was. Many people saw her as a fun TV personality with a catchy phrase. But this album showed something else. It was a serious piece of music that put her skill on full display. She had spent years training under one of the greatest guitarists in history, and now she had the perfect album to prove it. Guitar Passion featured 6 instrumental tracks and 4 vocal pieces. Each one was filled with emotion and precision. Critics loved it. It won the Female Pop Album of the Year award at the Billboard International Latin Music Conference. Songs like Romance of Love and Dreams of Spain captured the deep, soulful feeling of traditional flamenco. The medley, The Harvester, and The Wagon Men felt like a journey through the heart of Spain. People finally saw her as more than just an entertainer. She wasn't just about flashy performances. She was a master of her craft. But she didn't stop there. In 1997, she released Gusto, an album that blended pop with flamenco. It was fun, modern, and full of energy. Then in 2005, she returned to classical music with Charo and guitar, mixing timeless pieces with her own original work. Charo's early life was never easy. Her family was once well off, but everything changed when her father spoke out against General Francisco Franco's regime. He was a lawyer, an accountant, and a professor. But most importantly, he believed in democracy. That made him a target. One day he was there, the next he was gone, forced into exile. Charo was just 7 when it happened. She wouldn't see him again for more than a decade. The government took their land. The wealth her family once had disappeared. Life became a struggle. She has spoken about the pain of that time, saying it was a trauma that never really left her. She and her sister made a promise to each other. No matter what happened, they would always invest in property, so they would never be without a home again. Through all of this, music became her escape. It wasn't just a passion, it was a way to survive. At 9, she auditioned for a spot at a prestigious music school led by Andres Segovia, one of the greatest guitarists in history. She was the only girl in her class. It didn't matter. She worked harder than everyone else. She had no choice. Psychologists say childhood trauma can either break a person or make them stronger. Some struggle with anxiety or fear of abandonment, but others use that pain to push themselves forward. Charo was the second kind. She wasn't just chasing success. She was running from the past, making sure she never had to feel helpless again. That determination led her to make a bold choice early in her career. When she joined Xavier Cugat's orchestra, she wasn't as old as she claimed to be. Age mattered in the entertainment industry. Being younger meant more opportunities. A court eventually ruled that her birth year would be officially changed from 1941 to 1951. That meant when she married Cugat, she was legally 15 instead of 25. For Charo, this wasn't just about appearing younger. It was about survival. The industry had rules, and she played by them the best way she knew how. But her career wasn't just about music. It was about creating an identity. In America, she became known for her thick Spanish accent and her over-the-top personality. She turned both into strengths. She once joked that she could get away with anything in comedy because no one understood her anyway. Audiences loved her energy. But behind all the jokes and charm, she never forgot where she came from. Her music was a mix of everything she had lived through. Traditional Spanish sounds blended with modern American influences. She knew how to bring two cultures together in a way that felt fresh and exciting. She made people laugh, but she also made them listen. Through it all, she never stopped fighting. She never let hardship define her. Every challenge was another reason to push forward. Every setback was another chance to prove herself. The phrase that made her famous had a simple origin. In an interview with Oprah, Charo explained that Cuchi Cuchi came from her dog, Cuchillo. He had a funny little walk, so she started calling him that. Over time, the phrase became part of her personality. When she spoke English, she used it naturally, not realizing it would turn into her signature. It was fun and playful, but it also became a label that was hard to shake. As if being typecast wasn't enough, Charo also faced endless speculation about her age. Some sources claimed she was born in 1941. Others said 1947 or 1949. The mystery became a talking point, distracting from the real story, her talent. People were so caught up in guessing how old she was that they missed what really mattered. Music was where she truly belonged. She released albums like Dance a Little Bit Closer in 1977 and Guitar Passion in 1994. The latter won recognition at the Billboard International Latin Music Conference, proving she was more than just a TV personality. But breaking free from the Coochie Coochie Girl image wasn't easy. Many still saw her as a comedian first and a musician second. Her struggles weren't just about perception. When she first arrived in the United States, she barely spoke English. She relied on her charm and humor to connect with audiences, but that only made it harder for people to see her as a serious artist. Determined to change the narrative, Charo leaned into her roots. She blended flamenco with pop and disco, proving she was more than a novelty act. When Guitar Passion came out, it was a turning point. The album showcased her guitar skills in a way that couldn't be ignored. It was her way of telling the world who she really was. She didn't stop there. She performed flamenco and classical music, breaking expectations with every note. People who had only seen her on television finally understood the depth of her talent. She wasn't just about making people laugh, she was an artist with something real to say. Charo's life changed forever in 1966 when she married Xavier Cugat. He was already a legend, known as the Rumba King, and more than 40 years older than her. People talked about the age difference, but their relationship was built on respect. Cugat had an eye for talent, and he saw something special in Charo. She was already an incredible classical guitarist, trained by the great Andres Segovia, but Cugat helped her step into the spotlight. She joined his orchestra as a singer and dancer, and soon America took notice. With Cugat by her side, Charo made her way onto some of the biggest TV shows of the time. She charmed audiences on The Ed Sullivan Show, The Tonight Show, and The Hollywood Squares. Her performances were full of energy, and her playful catchphrase, "Coochie Coochie," became her signature. But life in the spotlight wasn't always easy. The pressures of fame and the challenges of their age gap took a toll. After more than a decade together, Charo and Cugat divorced in 1978. That same year, she married Kjell Rasten, a man who would become much more than just her husband. He took over as her manager, helping her shift her focus from television to music. Their relationship was different. It was built on deep love and support. Together, they faced the highs and lows of the entertainment industry, but this time, Charo had more control over her career. Everything changed again in 1981, when their son, Kjell, was born. Motherhood gave Charo a new purpose. She wanted a better life for her family, away from the pressures of Hollywood. So she and Rasten made a big decision. They packed up and moved to the Hawaiian island of Kauai, looking for peace and a fresh start. Life in Hawaii was different. Charo still performed, but family came first. She even opened her own restaurant, simply called Charo's, where locals and tourists gathered for great food and live music. Kjell grew up in this world, surrounded by music and creativity. Instead of the fast-paced Hollywood lifestyle, he had the ocean, the mountains, and a community that felt like home. As he got older, Kjell followed his own path. He became an actor, landing roles in The Boulevard and CSI Miami. He also explored music, just like his mother. One of the funniest moments between them came when Charo stole a song he had written for Britney Spears. The song, called Sexy Sexy, became a hit, and Kjell still gets royalties from it. It was all in good fun, showing the playful and supportive bond they always shared. Despite her fame, Charo always made sure Kjell had a normal childhood. He often says she was the best mom he could have asked for. Honest, loving, and always looking out for him. Moving to Hawaii gave him a sense of balance, something that many celebrity kids never get. Today, Kjell continues to carve out his own career while staying close to his mother, who couldn't be prouder of him. Kjell Rasten was Charo's husband for over 40 years. He was more than just a life partner. He was a father to their son, and a man who had always been there for his family. But behind closed doors, he was struggling with something that no one could see. He was battling bullous pemphigoid, a rare autoimmune disease that changed everything. It caused large, painful blisters to form on his skin, making even the simplest tasks feel impossible. The physical pain was bad enough, but the emotional toll was even worse. Bullaus pemphigoid isn't life-threatening, but it can make life unbearable. The blisters show up on the arms, legs, and abdomen, making movement difficult. Treatment usually involves steroids and other medications, but those come with their own problems. They can cause mood swings, weight gain, and a weakened immune system. Rasten felt every one of those side effects. The medicine that was supposed to help him only made him feel worse. His depression grew deeper. Over time, the man Charo had known for decades started to disappear. He had always been strong and supportive, but this disease was breaking him down. No matter how hard they tried to get through it together, the pain never stopped. It became too much. On February 18, 2019, at the age of 78, Kjell Rasten made the heartbreaking decision to end his life. Charo was completely shattered. She knew he was struggling, but she never expected this. In an emotional interview on The Talk, she spoke about the moment she found him, the shock, the disbelief, the pain that hit her all at once. She never saw it coming. She never thought he would take that step. In the months that followed, she turned to music. It had always been her way of expressing herself. Now, it became her way of surviving. She let her emotions pour into her performances, using music as a way to heal. At the same time, she spoke openly about mental health, urging others to seek help. She wanted people to understand that depression is real. It can take even the strongest people down, and no one should have to fight it alone. Eventually, she returned to the stage, not just for herself, but for Kel. Performing was her way of keeping his memory alive. It was her way of moving forward. Charo's return to the spotlight was more than just a comeback. It was a statement. In 2001, she launched Bravo at the Venetian in Las Vegas. She wasn't just the star of the show. She produced it too. Critics loved it. Time magazine called it the best variety show in Vegas that year. It was a full-circle moment. Her first Las Vegas performance had been in 1966 at Caesar's Palace, with her husband at the time, bandleader Xavier Cugat. Now she was back on her own terms, proving she was more than just a performer. She was a creator, a producer, and a force of nature. Bravo was a mix of everything that made Charo unique: music, comedy, and dance all in one show. She played her guitar with incredible skill, led a full orchestra, and brought in dancers to add energy to the stage. She wasn't just entertaining, she was pushing boundaries, blending Spanish heritage with American pop culture in a way that no one else could. Audiences loved it. The show was a success. At the same time, she was making waves on TV. She guest starred on That 70s Show in 2000. After that, she appeared on Hollywood Squares and The Surreal Life. New audiences got to see her charm, humor, and larger-than-life personality. She had spent decades in entertainment, yet she never felt outdated. She had a way of adapting without losing what made her special. Her talent and influence didn't go unnoticed. In 2014, she received the Ricardo Montalban Lifetime Achievement Alma Award. It was a major recognition of her contributions to entertainment and Latin culture. There's often confusion about her receiving a Screen Actors Guild Award for creating the Latin style, but that award doesn't exist. What is true is that she played a huge role in bringing Latin music and culture into the mainstream. Her album Guitar Passion proved that. Released in 1995, it won Female Pop Album of the Year at the Billboard International Latin Music Conference. It was a turning point for her music career, blending flamenco with contemporary sounds and showing the world that she was more than just a TV personality. Her impact wasn't just in music. She had made her mark on television too. Over the years, she appeared on some of the most iconic shows in history. The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, The Love Boat, Fantasy Island. She was everywhere. She even landed roles in films like Moon over Parador and Airport 79, The Concorde. She never let herself be limited to one thing. She always found new ways to entertain. Even after decades in the business, she never slowed down. She performed at the Hollywood Bowl for a crowd of over 17,000 people. Her show was full of energy, with music, humor, and, of course, her signature flamenco guitar. She knew how to connect with an audience. She had always mixed different styles, classical guitar, flamenco, pop, and made them her own. Her personality made every performance unforgettable. She joked about her coochie-coochie persona, never taking herself too seriously. That was part of her magic. She also loved working with other artists. She performed alongside comedian and musician Gary Mule Deer at the McCallum Theatre, showing once again that she could adapt to any kind of show. She never let herself become predictable. That's why her career has lasted so long. On top of all this, she kept reaching new audiences. She made guest appearances on Jane the Virgin and even Sharknado 5. She competed on Dancing with the Stars and won over fans with her energy and determination. No matter what she did, she made an impression. Through it all, Charo stayed true to one thing: positivity. No matter what challenges she faced, she always found a way forward. She believed in focusing on the good. That attitude shaped her entire career. She once said, "Around the world, I am known as a great musician, but in America, I am known as the Coochie Coochie Girl. That's okay because Coochie Coochie has taken me all the way to the bank."